Здравствуйте, дорогие коллеги!
Namaste and good afternoon, colleagues and comrades. Thank you for being with us today under the international online exhibition Russia Expo Days. I am happy to welcome you to the business session of the new tourist geography of St. Petersburg trends and practices. Dear friends, I hope that we will be usefully spending this hour. I'm confident that because we are having a panel of professionals. Russia and India has been so many years together. We have so good relations that it looks like many citizens of India came to visit St. Pete. But Petersburg has been changing, and I'm telling you that we will always find something to amaze you. And our today's session is to put an amazement for your customers because we're going to speak about new tourist geography, locations where your guests have never been before, the places that would be interesting for not only 50, 60 plus Indians who would come to the Soviet Union to remember the Soviet past, but also young Indians who would like to see urban vibes, who would like to see young people spending time like them, or not. So, frankly speaking, who want to see a live city as it is. Not a tourist city, but a real one. And to do so, we have made a project, New Tourist Geography of St. Petersburg. And it's our pleasure and joy to see how stable has been growing the tourist flow from Hindustani to St. Petersburg. It has been 15-20% over the recent years. Dear colleagues, we value your trust that you show to us, and we value your interest towards Russia. And we are developing, and we are saying tourist business, Indian-friendly program, exact knowledge of what is necessary to Indian visitors, what is interesting for you, what could be of interest for you, what are the specifics for location, for meals. We know this. The tourist business of St. Pete is aware of that well and is responding to your requests. Our cooperation is a two-way road, and the culprit and the summit of it is going to be a visit of your tourists to St. Petersburg. Dear friends, I would like to give a floor to present a new tourist geography project to a deputy head of St. Pete Committee for Tourism, Nana Gvichia. Good afternoon, colleagues, comrades. I'm happy to welcome you. It's a good chance to talk about our future today that we are going to expect. We hope that the future is going to be bright to travel across our country's borders and to go around the world. India, for us, is a beloved partner because, as you know, we have good cultural relations, good partnership and economic ties between Petersburg and India, and therefore Indian tourists have been coming more and more to St. Pete, and we were grateful to see them. And we know that the interest to the cultural heritage of St. Petersburg has been gaining momentum year in, year out. Now, it has been mentioned that the main point is that, especially for youngsters, they like to visit Russia and Petersburg, and it's critical for us to show our cultural heritage on the one side, but not to have it as a still image, like a stone town. But we need to show to all visitors that we're very up to date. We have lots of points of magnitude that appear in the recent times. And under the perception of St. Petersburg as a friendly and modern city that is up to time, we developed a new tourist geography program. Last year, we adopted about 10 million tourists, half of them international tourists in St. Pete. And under new, sightseeing facilities in St. Petersburg, we were able to see that if they visit more if you stay for 3 days and more in St. Pete. So the new tourist geography project is fully synchronized with the new cultural geography program that is in charge of the cultural processes in the city. We have developed a few projects related to the St. Petersburg capital of design, as contemporary tourists from Hindustan are also interested in modern trends, and that's going to be interesting for you. We know that we are a capital city of water tourism, and now if you may have an e-visa to stay not only Petersburg and Leningrad Oblast, but also to travel across Russia, you will have a chance to make use of river cruises, to use yachts and yachting tourism, who likes it. So St. Pete opens up new vistas. We have always been a maritime capital, but now we have even more sports for water that is in demand. As I said before, we launched the program India Friendly, and a lot of attention under the program has been paid to food tourism. We know that every person visiting another country wants to have a chance under his wish list to have a chance to visit its own authentic cuisine. But at the same time, any visitor traveling the world wants to know what is the authenticity of the region where he arrives. We have a project called Petersburg Cuisine, and that would allow you to touch the stuff historically and culturally that went through a few hundreds of years, and to feel a resident of not today's St. Petersburg, but also a 300-year-old city with recipes rooting back to Tsar of Peter the Great, Nicholas, and preserving those specifics under today's life. A lot of projects would allow you to, and we hope to have that, because it's children's eyes who know and who could show the friendliness of the city, that you all would come over with your children, with bigger families, because we have lots of interesting family and children attractions that would give you a chance to not only, learn more about geography of not only Petersburg, but of Russia in total. We have a great Russian model, and children would come to us for 30 minutes, but they stay for 2 hours because children are very taken away by those projects. Petersburg Aquatorium. We have another new project that is earmarked for children tourism, which is land reserve, land polygraph mesh, industrial tourism. And if children are interested to know more about country's history or technology, they have a chance to develop differently during their stay in our city. Well, COVID-19 pandemic has changed a lot and perception of many visitors, and I think that people would combine their traveling with medical tourism as well, or healthy tourism, especially because of the fact that the Indian culture is how to keep healthy. You pay a lot of attention to pharmaceutical industry. We know that. And that would allow you to better, estimate the high-level services of spa and sanatorium treatment in St. Petersburg. Because this spa and sanatorium tourism program has more and more facilities on stream. We have a very deep routes going to the Baltic shore, the Baltic seashore, where there are lots of Soviet and even Peter the Great sanatoriums are there. And it's very reputed facilities. It was called differently at that time, but this is a combined vacation treatment. So our tradition of high level of medical people would allow you to get whatever you want under this healthy tourism. And you can get also impressions as a cultural heritage of St. Pete and a good medical support. Owing to the delivery of those projects, we are confident that the time of your stay in St. Petersburg should be extended. As I said, e-visa allows you to do that, to stay 16 days in Russia, but St. Pete was about 3 to 5 days of your tourist stay, as usual before. But we hope that now, given a bigger number of new tourist facilities, again, it's hard to embrace unembraceable, but if you come to us for a longer time, you could encompass both history and modern life of our city. And this is now allowed by the e-visa. Your itinerary is available for you at Visit Petersburg website. And Visit Petersburg program allows you to get acquainted with new tourist products and to have your own itinerary, to take informed decisions, I would say, and would be satisfying your own interests. A lot of attention is paid to safety and security, and under the current epidemiological situation, we launched a friendly St. Petersburg sub-program to ensure safety. We joined the Safe Travel program that was launched by WTC this year under the pandemic. It's high standards of safety in tourism. Therefore, we are the only city which is part of that program, and that allows you to assess your risks that are not there to stay in Petersburg, because most of tourist and similar organizations have been paying attention to safety to ensure your safe stay in St. Pete. Basically, this is it. In a nutshell, what I wanted to say.
Dana Markusovna, огромное спасибо.
Natalia speaking. Thank you, Nana, for a very motivating presentation. You know, hearing you, I came back to last year when I had to stay at an Indian Institute of Public Administration for a month, and I was amazed, dear Indian comrades. I was amazed by your family vacation and leisure. It is so good, and we are so happy that St. Pete may offer family leisure for you. You can, children and parents can separate, they spend time together, and indeed, when in Delhi, I had a feeling the more time I was spending in that city, the more I was diving in, and 5 days was not enough. A month would not be enough for me, and you would have the same feeling. It will be chasing you in St. Petersburg. Thank you, Nana. And talking about a new tourist geography, I would like to give a floor to Marina Lipetskaya, head of the Center for Strategic Research Foundation Northwest. Marina, your organization has been paying much attention for the project to be filled in with contents. For it to be interesting, new tourist geography, both residents and visitors. Can you tell us where are we now and what could be offered to our Indian colleagues? Marina speaking. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, Natalia. I am an expert of the New Tourist Geography project, and a few words I want to say about what we are based in, speaking about attracting Indian tourists. We know that today there is a strong middle class in Bharat, and by 2050 the amount of Bharati middle class people would be 30% of the world middle class, and it's 300 million people, and by the next years this number would grow. And for us it means that Indian tourists and consumers would have quite high benchmark in terms of quality and contents. We know that going forward, an Indian tourist, and even now, of course, this is a well-educated group of people or family, as has been mentioned by my colleagues, with diverse needs and interests to visit traditional sites and to learn or get information about something new, modern, relevant today. And we would like to shape a offer that would be in line with your interests. Nana has already mentioned key lines, and I would highlight certain things in my presentation under this bullet points, and I would announce what should be in the focus of your attention. I would also mention that the entire world industry today is under the rethinking and reconfiguring, and we do so too, and hope that after a year, when the difficulties would start getting to an end, we would be 100% updated and our offer would not run in conflict with any, Petersburg treasures of history, but would add it or have a secondary journey or third journey to visit St. Pete. So therefore, we want to make a trip to St. Pete a repetitive one for you to want to get back and to have a new program every time. What can we see there in that program? What Nana has mentioned is a new cultural geography. That includes the points and spaces that have shaped in an industrial age, but now they're having new meaning. I mean ex-industrial sites or wastelands, which are now creative clusters, and millions of residents go through them annually. They hold interesting events, and they're also interesting for contemporary tourists, as the markets are shaped. Certain local, bars, gastronomic platforms, and that's interesting and democratic and attractive. And besides those creative clusters, we also see a great potential in modern exhibition spaces, and especially I would like to mention creative clusters that become modern, exhibition places where you can see an exhibition of a modern artist, or to visit a lecture or something else. So we can see a few platforms like that, and it's a good way to travel across them. The plan is to connect those platforms in a single coordinated group that would exchange plans to have a shared calendar of events and to publish it. And for everyone who is interested in modern creative spaces or their itineraries would be able to plan ahead to go to St. Pete. The second line of business that Nana has mentioned is also potential for us, not only for tourism, but also for innovative economy development. I mean design and contemporary architecture. St. Petersburg can be considered a national center of design development. But we see that there is potential to be attractive at the world level too. The plan is to unfold a program called Petersburg, a World Design Capital. As we know, that there are some cities who have done that exercise, and where design capitals have significantly increased their potential for visitors, as they were benchmarks, and they're now visible on the map, not created just interesting itineraries, but offered goods, merchandise items and souvenirs. And that is important for us to support the local industry that is available in our city and ready to offer new products for visitors. We know and see that there is a potential for design quarters around the Stiglitz Academy with world-renowned design institute, including industrial design experts for the world. It's a unique educational institution, and it's a museum at the same time. They're interesting to visit. The third line of activities that Nana has mentioned is an educational tourism center. We think that the potential for Indian people is that We know that millions of Bharati people graduate every year, and we know how big is attention to the educational domain, including engineering one. And our city has a world-class institutions and universities that are ready to provide educational services for you and are attractive for international tourists. For international students, I mean. But we think that every tourist may get a student for a time to get an extra skill in those world-level universities and to take back a diploma or a certificate on advanced training. So a few leading universities of our city, just to mention a few: Polytechnic University of St. Petersburg and other universities are ready to offer such courses and to just make a single marketing program for quick learning. This is what regards professional skills. But I also want to say that we need to start this journey since the school. And a separate thing is school children attraction and interesting itineraries for them. Nana has mentioned the cultural and historical programs. It's critical for Russian school students. There is a special program for the study of Russia's culture. But for international children, we could also offer unique technology educational curricula, as our country is very much appreciated for physics, mathematics, biology and other natural sciences that could be formed into small courses and interesting for children all around the world. And we think that this is a good strategic goal for St. Petersburg. I think that it would diverse the family tourism routes, as my colleagues have mentioned before. A few words about environmental and water tourism. As Nana has also mentioned it, I would like to say that we know that the city from water is viewed differently, and it means that you can take a look at the program by connecting new points would be interesting for young people that is ready to offer something traditional ways like bigger buses or coaches. It's much more interesting for youngsters to move along canals and to see the city from the water.
And what we see from Russian people and those who live in St. Petersburg, the environmental sector is also critical. People want to get closer to nature, so they would like to see a merge between the urban environment and the natural environment. And building parks to attract people to such environments is really important. We have 16 natural areas in our park which are interconnected by cycle tracks. This is another area which, as we believe, will be attractive for citizens from big cities who miss being one-to-one with nature. The last thing that I would like to point out is that, given the current context in the tourist industry, safety standards were reviewed in two areas. The first area is digitalization. We understand that all the tourists, particularly those from the business class, use everything via digital technologies and digital services. and of course establishing a multi-service platform where you can book a trip to any point or any destination and use a single ticket to pass to different destinations. We believe that it is really important now. We work on that, and those single tickets and single routes should also be valid beyond St. Petersburg, because St. Petersburg is a big and diverse city, but there are also a lot of interesting things around St. Petersburg. And now that our tourists have flown to St. Petersburg, they probably need to see what surrounds it and maybe go to the neighboring Republic of Karelia or the Pskov region that is really close to St. Petersburg. And this means that we need to build a system of fast passenger transport brought together in a digital platform so that tourists spend a minimum of their time. But we hope that this platform will be really in demand, and we will be able to create this silver necklace on which all the regions on the northwest of Russia have been working for a long time. Dear colleagues, that's it for me. Thank you very much for your attention to our city. Thank you, Marina. You mentioned several very important ideas that St. Petersburg is a real travel hub from which it is convenient and comfortable and accessible to go to other regions of Russia, and many Indian tourists are already used to that. And there is also the geography side. It's important that all of us are trying to build this all together. This is about safety and security, because St. Petersburg has become the first region of Russia which is the World Tours and Travel Council. This is also an important aspect which shows that we are looking into the new reality of post-COVID future with a feeling of security. But what is also important is that St. Petersburg is probably the most European city in this region. There is a very friendly community of Indian students in St. Petersburg. We have a very friendly and close-knit community of Indians who taught us how to celebrate the Festival of Paints. And now this has become one of the most favorite events for St. Petersburgers. And along with restaurants and cafes of Indian cuisine, we have a lot of cafes and restaurants from the Indian cuisine, which shows how important we are for each other. And we have a lot of Indian chefs who are working now in St. Petersburg. So this is a real blending of cultures. And Marina has elaborated on how it's happening, on what you can do while you are in St. Petersburg. And to continue our session, I would like to draw your attention to a specific example. Before this, we've always spoken about the different areas and aspects where you can find some interesting things for Indian tourists. But let's look at a specific Indian territory and a specific institution. What can we offer to Indian tourists within the project of the Street Art Museum? My friends, it's not only the Hermitage, not only the Russian Museum, but also such unique museums such as the Street Art Museum, which became a market maker for other countries, including European countries. We can find replicas of the Street Art Museum in other European countries. And now I give the floor to Street Art Museum Director Tatiana Pinchuk. Tatiana, we are happy to see you. Thank you for this festive New Year mood that you've created. I know that for many years your Street Art Museum has been working on becoming a point of attraction for St. Petersburgers, but also for tourists. Indeed, you are located about 10 kilometers away from the Hermitage. It's not the center of the city, it's a new location, but we see lots of buses with excited tourists. It really motivates you when you develop this project. So tell us about the Street Art Museum. Good afternoon, dear all. Natalia, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to our Indian colleagues. The Street Art Museum is a museum of modern art. It is located, indeed, not in the center of St. Petersburg, but in a kind of industrial zone. Our museum occupies an area of 15 hectares. This is the area of an existing manufacturing site. We know many examples when a plant ceased to exist and then some cultural cluster appeared in this place. But we are unique because our museum, our modern cultural institution, exists on the territory of a functioning plant. This plant produces plastic materials and it has partners all over the world. Our Street Art Museum has turned 8 years. It will be 10 in 2 years. And our museum can be divided into 2 major parts. The first part is permanent expositions, representing works of artists from all over the world. It's more than 60 works that we've brought together, and the artists use different surfaces on the territory of the plant. They use facades of walls, they use fences, pipes, any surfaces. Because yes, we are a street art museum, we are a modern museum, but we focus on street art, the art that you can find in the street. And this kind of art lives in a natural habitat. The plant area is like a small city. And secondly, we have a public platform. That's the second part of our museum. This is a place which has a special entrance like any museum. There is a souvenir shop and you can buy souvenirs there. And there are a lot of events in our program, including festivals, musicals, theater performances, sports performances. And of course, we have a major focus on expositions. Whenever you come to our museum, we have an exhibition program, we have ongoing exhibitions and events, special events. Our museum consists of 2 parts. The part which is located in the functioning plant also invites tourists as part of an excursion. But we are also building a second floor or a second level. On the first level there are workshops, something is manufactured there, and there are certain rules when you visit this site, of course. We have an overpass in the territory of our plant. And this allows you to build the second floor so that the tourists can walk freely and watch how things are manufactured without being involved in what's happening on the first floor. We've partially finished the second floor, so it looks like some places in New York where you can have a walk on the second floor and watch what's happening on the first floor. Our street art museum is the first street art museum in the world, which makes it really unique. There were cases when colleagues from Italy, Ireland, the Netherlands and the United States came to our museum to see how this project functions in order to open such a museum in their countries, which is why today there are similar projects in other countries, but our museum was the first one, and we are proud to share this experience with our foreign colleagues. As for the content of this museum, street art is more democratic and less conceptual compared to contemporary art, because artists usually paint pictures in the streets. Sometimes it's illegal, and their messages are always simple and clear-cut. They talk to the passerbys, and this street art is closer to the ordinary citizens, ordinary dwellers of the cities. We have an international cultural institution, and artists from all over the world take part in our projects. We work very closely with Europe. We are supported by international institutions, by the French Institute, by the Netherlands Consulate, by the Goethe Institute. We have finished a lot of projects within the past few years. Right now I am in Portugal, and we are going to have a major street art project here as well. So our street art museum is what you can see in Russia today. It is contemporary and modern art. It's about today's agenda. It's people's response to the Russian and international agenda. It's the global agenda, one might say. So St. Petersburg is a city with a unique history and with unique monuments in its center, but we also have such ultra-modern locations which you can enjoy, and you can get a feeling of this new energy, of this new life. In 2018, and our museum is located on the Revolution Highway, and St. Petersburg is a city of the revolution because there was the 1918 revolution which started here, 1917 also, and we had a major event 2 years ago because of that, because we are really close to revolution and all these themes. And street art is also very revolutionary. And that year BBC took a report about Russia Today. They came with their big team to St. Petersburg.
Да, конечно, всем известна там великая история нашей страны и наших там выдающихся художников в широком смысле, но им было интересно, что есть Россия сегодня, вот как она живет прямо
So, a lot of BBC reporters came to St. Petersburg in order to get familiarized with the Street Art Museum. They wanted to find out what street art looks like, and they decided that Russia Today is this street art museum is this new culture. Those young people who implement those projects. So it's important for us to maintain this cultural heritage, which is huge, but it's also important to create something new, something which we will leave behind us. We work together with Europe and also with other countries and other cities of Russia. We opened several branches of street art museums in other cities of Russia, because indeed in many Russian cities there are a lot of industrial sites or manufacturing plants, and these projects would be really attractive, and street art is an important project for those cities. As for infrastructure, we have all the infrastructure required on our territory for local people and tourists to stay here. We have nice chairs on which you can sit and enjoy the work of the artists. Some of the works are located outdoors. We also have a library and a cinema hall, and we also have a big team of guides who speak different languages, including English, Italian, Finnish, Spanish, and so on. And when companies ask us, we can organize interpretation into any language. Today, most tourists who come to see us are, of course, individual tourists. They are people who travel individually or in a family or in a couple, or there are friends who come to see us, but we also see organized groups of tourists, including school children, pensioners, and others. And I'd like to note that street art and our exhibition projects are clear, accessible, and attractive to any audience. This is also our big advantage. We see children at our museum, as well as students, as well as families with children and old-age pensioners and adults. It's interesting for them too. We have a big program and we do our best to provide the best services to our visitors. We always try to understand where this group of tourists comes from, how they are feeling, how it is better to plan our visit or their visit to the museum. Our guides are also always attentive and flexible and polite. We understand that our visitors made a lot of effort to come to our museum, and now that they got to our place, we will do our best to make sure that they will like and remember their visit to our museum. We also understand that street art museum is not a central tourist site in St. Petersburg. We understand our place in this tourist chain, and if tourists came to St. Petersburg for 3-4 days or more, then they will probably have the time to see not only the historical center of St. Petersburg, but also to try this new life of the city, to get a feeling of modern art. We have visits from people who are not for the first time in our city. Sometimes they are here for the third or fourth time, or maybe they are here for 4 or 5 days, or they are people who are interested in modern art and they look for modern art museums, or they are attracted by particular events. that we are hosting. It's not just some paintings and drawings. We also organize dance events, music events, sports events. All of them are part of our event program. We have several music festivals, and people from other countries and cities of Russia come to see our festivals. Sometimes people come to see our two-day festivals, and the tourists who come here from far away can find all the important events on our website. We have a 6-month plan, so you can check your agenda and compare it with our plan. Furthermore, in summer, because there are white nights in summer, we work longer hours than other museums. We work until 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or sometimes we are even open at night. So we are a non-conventional, out of the box museum. Sometimes all other museums are closed, but you can still come to our museum, which stays open. Talking about the pandemic, now that we have a huge advantage, our museum is an outdoors one, or most of it. Secondly, it's the sheer scale of the museum. We have a big area, and this summer we launched an automobile excursion. Our drivers could get into our museum by car and watch the entire exposition without going out from their car. It was really comfortable and safe and convenient and also interesting and exciting. That was the first case of such excursion formats in St. Petersburg. Furthermore, we can see a lot of people coming to us by car for a weekend. So we are planning to organize some performances and other events where people do not even exit their cars. So we are getting ready for that. And in spring 2021 we are going to launch those things because the situation with the pandemic is not clear yet. And to conclude, I would like to tell you that yes, the Street Art Museum is a museum of a new type. It's also a recreational area where you can pass the time in the evening or with your family. If you had an active dance program until 6 p.m. and you have some free time in the evening, you can come and see us in the evening. We also have an educational center. We have a lot of educational programs, master classes and lectures. And when people come to the Street Art Museum, they would like to take a bottle and draw something by themselves. Because when you see ultra-modern art, something that was done here and now, very often artists actually work on the museum's territory when visitors come and see us. Of course, our visitors want to do something on their own, which is why we have master classes on a regular basis. This is when children can learn how to paint with oil and paint bottles and paint something on the wall by themselves. So this is the new image of St. Petersburg and a new experience. Any questions? Thank you, Tatiana. I really liked the idea that you mentioned today. It's a new kind of tourist geography, and something new is happening all the time. Our whole project is dedicated to that, because tour operators are really sad when they bring in a group of tourists to a platform, to a site which was heavily advertised, which was expected, but there is nothing there. There is no garage in a natural habitat that you would like to look at. There is nothing attractive there. So this new tourist geography is really crucial, because you as professionals will find it comfortable. This program is guaranteed to be a success. You can show this St. Petersburg to your tourists, and it will certainly be a success. There are exhibitions of which you know in advance, because the participants of a new tourist geography have plans for their cultural events, of course. But this museum can help you make your tourists more active and have a look at different parts of St. Petersburg. And St. Petersburg is famous because there are many programs that are loved by our people, by tourists. And I know that Russia and India are alike, because the IT industry is very popular both in India and in St. Petersburg. For us, the IT industry is also an industry of creativity. And now that I'm talking about creativity, we have an excellent presentation for our Indian operators. I will put on this hat. This is a special designer hat, which I was given in Pradesh last year in India. So this hat was made in this very creative place. And when I look at this hat, I remember how close St. Petersburg and India are to each other. To conclude, the creative potential St. Petersburg Index is number 1, that is, St. Petersburg occupies rank number 1 in Russia in terms of creativity, because we have a lot of people from the creative industries. We have our own middle class here in St. Petersburg, like in India. St. Petersburgers speak English quite well, so Indians and St. Petersburgers will find a common language. Furthermore, it's also important to organize creative products involving manufacturing, and I think that it is here that I will conclude. It's actually about the new tourist geography. This is a project which stands on the shoulders of giants, and those giants are those representatives of creative industries. It's the business which is now very successful, which works at the so-called revitalization of former industrial sites. And sometimes there is a functioning manufacturing plant, and Tatiana does something cultural right on its area. My friends, thank you for your attention. I thank my colleagues from the Tourism Development Center, from the Street Art Museum. Dear friends, we are looking forward to seeing you in St. Petersburg, to show you, to give you 1001 reasons to spend at least a week here, and to return here for the third and fourth time and the fifth time. Thank you, goodbye.